I'm so excited to have you all once again in our reading room. And I believe this book is still having positive impact in our lives despite the problems and challenges of life. As you can see, we are still on the book Navigating the Heart. Who is Dragging You? Written by Dr. Oksupak, whose dream has always been for the youth to live in happiness and wake up with bright hope. So I believe as we read this book will serve as the purpose of which it was written. And we are on the fourth chapter, which talks about wisdom. Knowing our weaknesses and our shortcomings is true wisdom. And so, let's begin. People who live like the frog in the well. Every person, no matter who it may be, has the heart to believe in him or herself. But without thinking about it carefully, people think of themselves as really great and they live believing only in themselves. If they would like, they would just think a little deeper, they will discover that they also have many faults and that they have also failed at many things. When they recognize this, they can begin to understand. My thinking was all wrong. I did not do well. And I was never great. I was being deceived. When they admit this, they can clearly acknowledge who they really are. Before people discover their true images, they think of themselves to be very smart and very good. Kim Gisang also lived like this. He later read the book that I wrote, The Secrets of Forgiveness of Sins and Being Born Again. After reading the book, he said that for the first time, he was able to sincerely think about himself. Here is another example of how dangerous it is to believe in yourself. Think about it. When you distract someone, you check to see whether that person is telling the truth or not. You check to see whether that person is being real or not. But if you trust that person, you accept whatever he or she says. In the same way, a person who believes in himself does not check or double check his thoughts. He just believes them to be correct. In reality, the thoughts of human beings are often wrong and flawed. The thoughts that come from believing in yourself are the first level of thoughts. For people who remain on the first level of thoughts, even though they become drug addicts and live pitiful lives like Julio, they are unable and incapable of thinking that living that way is wrong. However, if they would think just a little deeper, they would realize their thoughts are wrong. That is what we call the second level of thoughts. When we look at a situation from the second level of thoughts, we often begin to realize that the first level of thoughts is completely wrong. We should never just automatically follow the first level of thoughts that arises in our hearts. When we enter the first level of thoughts, we should stop and come to a different conclusion. Let me think about it from a different angle. Are these thoughts actually correct? We have to think about things in this way. People who are bothered by having to think further simply follow and act upon the first level thoughts that arise momentarily in their minds. On the other hand, the people who know the joy of deeper thinking never end their thoughts at the first level. When they reach the second level of thoughts and reflect, they discover that the first level thoughts that they once believed to be correct were actually incorrect. Yet, the people who still believe in themselves don't understand what is wrong. And without them even knowing it, they continue to live according to their own thoughts. People who believe themselves to be great and despise others are this way because they have not met anyone who is greater than they are. People who think that they are smart feel that way because they haven't met anyone who is smarter than they are. That is why they think the way that they do. They are like frogs in a well. The frog in the well thinks the world that it sees within the well is all there is to see. He thinks of himself as the greatest of them all. He lives this way. Then, one day, when he comes out of the well and sees a bull for the first time, he's shocked. The people who live in their own small worlds, the people who think of themselves to be great, and the people who think that their thoughts are right, when they are faced with difficult problems in life, can only fall into despair. The next story is about the home of the world's greatest chess player. This is a story that comes from China. An elderly man was once riding his donkey into a large city. While passing one of the houses, he saw a sign that read, "The home of the world's greatest chess player." The elderly man went to the door and asked for the owner of the house. "Is there anyone home?" he called out. "Who is it?" came a reply. "Is this the home of the world's greatest chess player?" "Yes, it is." The young owner came out, saw the elderly man, and asked, "What brings you here?" "I live in the countryside about 25 miles away. I came to the city on some business, and I saw the sign on the front gate. I wanted to play a game of chess with you." Right then, the owner laughed and asked him, "You want to play chess with me? You asked this even after seeing the sign?" "Yes, it says that you play very well. So that's why I would like to play with you." The elderly man from the countryside and then the young owner, the so-called world greatest chess player, opened the chessboard, set the pieces, and sat face to face. The elderly man then spoke. "It's no fun to just play. Why don't we set a wager?" "Sure. What should the wager be?" "How about the loser gives the winner 15 coins?" "Agreed. Let's do that." And the two of them began to play chess. Since he was the greatest chess player in the world, you can imagine how skilled he must have been. The older man started getting pushed away and pushed around. "Elderly man, checkmate!" exclaimed the young owner. The elderly man looked at the board and decided that there was no way out for him. "I'm defeated," he said. "That's right, you are defeated. Then, as promised, you need to pay 15 coins." All of a sudden, the elderly man's face became red. "I'm so sorry. What am I to do?" said the elderly man. "Why? What do you mean?" "I'm sorry, but I have no money." "What? You didn't have any money and you asked to place a wager?" The young owner had a look of confusion on his face. Then the elderly man made a proposal. "If you sell the donkey that I came here on, you can get at least 50 coins for him. Since I have been defeated, I would give you the donkey instead of the money." "That makes no sense. Elderly man, you came a long way and you must return on that donkey. How can you return from your long journey without your donkey?" asked the young owner. "Sure, that may be, but what can I do? I have no money. I made a promise, so I should keep it. I would be happy if you would at least take my donkey," requested the elderly man. "Well, that would not be polite of me." "No, it's okay. It's okay." "Well, if you insist, then I'll take the donkey. I am very sorry." "Please don't feel sorry." "All right, then farewell." The elderly man handed the reins of the donkey over to the young owner, and he walked away empty-handed. How good the young owner must have felt because he won a donkey in a cheese match. He changed the old saddle for a new one, and he purchased a new reins. After he washed the donkey clean, he rode him around, and it made him feel very good. However, after about a week, the elderly man returned to his house. "Sir, what brings you back here again?" asked the young owner. "Last time, I was sorry that I could not give you the money I promised, but I was very thankful that you at least took the donkey. I came here today because I want to play another game of chess. But with your skill, sir, you are no match for me. Even so, I still want to play just one more time. This time, I have 15 coins with me." "Really?" "This time, if I lose, I'll give you 15 coins. But if I win, you must return the donkey I gave you last time." The owner was feeling good and thought, "Last time, it was as if you practically gave me your donkey. Now you are here to give me 15 coins also." The two of them began the chess match. However, this elderly man, who was once so terrible at chess, showed completely different skills in just 1 week. "What is this?" thought the young owner. "This elderly man is really good at chess." The young owner was shocked. Sweat began to break out on his forehead. After playing for a while, the elderly man said with a loud voice, Young owner, checkmate. There was no way out for the young owner. The man who was supposed to be the world's greatest chess player was no match for this elderly man. He was completely defeated. I have been defeated, said the young man. Then, as promised, may I take my donkey with me? Sure, of course you may. The owner brought out the donkey under his ownership. The donkey had been fitted with a new saddle and reins. The donkey was now washed nice and clean. The donkey recognized the elderly man first and was very happy to see him. Then excuse me for all your troubles. Please be well, said the elderly man. As he was about to mount his donkey and leave, the young owner shouted out, Wait! I need to ask you one thing. What is it? 1 week ago, sir, you were really bad at cheese. But in such a short amount of time, how did you increase your skills? I'm very curious. Didn't I explain that to you already? No, please, I'd like to know. I told you that I came here on some business before, right? I arrived at the city and wanted to enter into the city office riding on the donkey. At the entrance, it was written, Donkeys or horses are not allowed. So I needed a place where I could house my donkey for a week. So I purposely played chess with you. Today, I'm done with all my errands and I need to return home. Of course, I would need my donkey, wouldn't I? That is why I won this time. The owner was shocked. He thought he was the world's greatest chess player. This elderly man was a person who could defeat him or lose to him at will. He felt so ashamed. Immediately, he removed that sign that read, the home of the world's greatest chess player from his house. I heard that from that day on, he lowered his head and became humble. Until people meet someone greater than they are, they think of themselves as great. We may not put on a sign on the front of our gate, but in our hearts we say, I'm good, I'm smart, I'm better than others. Everyone in this world has a small amount of that kind of heart inside of them. This will be the end of our reading for today. And as we read, most of the times we have our own hearts and our own thoughts. But when we are unable to think deeply about these thoughts that visit us, we end up living in misery because we fail to reach the second level of thinking. Mostly we think we are smart, we are good and better off than others. Thus, we despise them. As we read today, when we realize our weaknesses and we realize our flaws, then we accept others and live humbly. Thank you all for being with me, and I hope to see you in my next reading. See you again and live healthy. Bye bye.